up, and then I want to get into the program, and I'll give you an overview of the literature. Good evening, Charlie. How are you tonight?
Doing great, Stephen. You?
Good. I'm terrific. I'm excited about tonight because we're going to really carve out our futures and our destiny tonight. And we're going to do it in the words of Dr. Frank R. Wallace. One of my greatest mentors is Dr. Wallace.
Yes.
And I love sharing his literature. Okay, with that, what are we talking about? Mark Hamilton and Family and You. What does that mean? It's a great title. The literature. You all have it. It's the gray book. It has the gold writing on it. And that's what we're going to be focusing on tonight. But what is that book about? Why does Mark have that book created the way he does? Well, I'm going to tell you something. I think Mark Hamilton is one of the best marketers. He's one of the best publicists. And he's a great, phenomenal writer, obviously. And what he has done is he is creating a book, which, by the way, we have hit a year. This week, on the 8th of September, we have been running this program for a full year. And I'm just so glad to be here with all of you for one year. It goes fast, doesn't it? Well, so for many of you, if this is your first time, you're going to feel like you're in the middle of a movie, and you are. You've walked in the middle because we've been working on this book on manuscript for a year, and we're kind of in the middle of it right now. But the book is written and broken up into various areas. Mark Hamilton. What does that mean? It means the writings of Mark Hamilton. Mark has put in his writings, his programs. He talks about leadership. He talks about being lucky. He talks about, being the Robin Hood. All that's in the literature and his own writings. Hamilton and Family. What's family? Well, it's Mark Hamilton's family. We have had a great program on Mark Hamilton's mother, Tracy Alexander. Many of you may not know that Tracy Alexander, the name, which is the breakthrough to enlightenment, was Mark's real mother. And Tracy got a revelation, and she realized how the ills and delusion of religion is, and how bad religion is, and that it was a lie, it was dishonest, and she was able to realize that there was no real God. The God is within you, not in the sky. That was all delusion. And she writes about it in the Breakthrough to Enlightenment, and that's here in the literature, and we have done a program on that. That you're God men, each one of you. Well, you're all Zons. You're Zons. You're born as Zons. So you have Tracy Alexander. You have Dr. Frank L. Wallace, his father. Dr. Wallace writes the 114 Advantages. Dr. Wallace was killed back in 2006. His mother's passed away. His father's passed away. I'm a big believer that Dr. Wallace is with us, and as you know, I'm the moderator for the Frank R. Wallace call on Thursday night. So I feel very fortunate that I have the opportunity to be running both these programs and working Dr. Wallace's work. And tonight, I've been working the last few weeks on the 114 Advantages, and we're going to dig in deeper tonight on it. So Dr. Wallace's work is in here. We have Mark Hamilton's children. His daughter writes the Book of Boo. That's a great book. That's in here. And by the way, if you never got the original one, the colors are so vibrant. It's a beautiful book. But the book is in here, and it's black and white, but it is in here. And it's a children's book, and it's a book that you should share with your children and your grandchildren. You've got his children, his son. We did a whole section on his son talking to him, his father. And we did a whole area on leadership, etc., through his son. And you. Well, that's you. That's you and me. There was a period a few years ago where we wrote many testimonials to Mark. And we wrote about the value of the society. We wrote about the future of the society. We wrote about the secrets of the society. We talked about unveiling the secrets, how our lives have changed to a better because of the Neo-Think Society. And that's the you, and that's in the book also. Powerful, powerful book of information. Now, we're working with, and you got to understand how the book works. Go back to the very beginning, and you have to look at Mark Hamilton and Family and You, and there's 2 pages of that, and then they do a table of content. And it says Part 1, Mark Hamilton, and it talks about chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you go to Part 2. And by the way, I didn't share this. Mark Hamilton's brother, Eric Savage, and we've talked about his material. Global Wealth Power is in here, and we had presentations on that. So he's in Part 2, or I call Book 2, which is my brother. Then he brings in his children, which is part 3 or book 3, his daughter and his son. Then he brings in part 4, his mother, Tracy Alexander, which was the breakthrough to enlightenment. Then he brings in book 5, My Father, and that's where we are right now. Book 5, My Father, and we're looking at chapter 11. And you have to go by that because you can't go by the pages. You got to go by the chapters. So chapter 11, book 5, or area 5, and it's called My Father, Neotech Abridged, and it starts 114 advantages. Then you go through the rest of the book, and it will take you to your testimonials, and that's how you have to really understand the book. As I tell everybody, when you get these large manuscripts, and we got 2,048 pages here. You got to dig it in. You got to dig into it. You got to break them down. You got to look at the chapters. You got to look at the number of the books and what the numbers are and who they relate to. So you got Tracy Alexander. You got Dr. Frank R. Wallace. You got Eric Savage. You've got Mark's 2 children. You got Mark's writings. You've got your writings. They're all broken into here. And again, you got to real understand them. You got to understand and break the book apart. If you haven't done that, do it this weekend. Dig in and break the book apart. So right now we are on chapter 11, which is book number 5. Well, actually, it says here it's book 5. Let me just make sure we got it right, because I don't want anybody to be off track. It says part 5 or book 5, Mark's Father, chapter 11, My Father, Neotech Abridged. The last few weeks, we worked on advantage number 1 and advantage number 2. Now, just so you know, we're not going to go through all 114 advantages, but I picked out the first 4 to 5 as our foundation. We've done the child of the past, and we have done, obviously, our breakdown of man and woman. As we go forward now, we're going to carve out a new destiny for ourselves, a new world. You and I are going to do a different path. We're no longer going to live the mystical AC path. We are going to live in a neo-think path. Now, as I present this is no cult. No one's here to change your mind, and you will only change your own mind. So I must be careful. I tread a light line here. There is no way I'm culting you. There's no way I'm scamming you. There's no way that I'm trying to voodooize you. I'm not trying to be mystical. Obviously, I'm against the mystical level, but I'm teaching you a path to better your life. Remember, you're here because your life is not working in some ways, and you came here because there was something in the letters from Mark that got you to say, hey, I want a better life. Well, this material, the 114 advantages, and let me be very candid with you, these were one of my biggest breakthroughs from mysticism. When I first started with Neotech, or Neo-Think, back in 2006, I still had a lot of mysticism. So I still went to church and all that garbage, and but I've gotten rid of all that. And I really focused on the political world in a different aspect. Since my Neo-Think journey and understanding, I've broken away from religion and all that belief. I know that there's no real God in the sky, that there's no heaven. I get all that. That stuff's gone. But I realized that the heaven is here on this earth. We're in heaven right now. And it's how we make it work for us. That's part of the problems we've dealt with. We've dealt with people who have told us that there is this life after this life, and there isn't any. It's us going into the universe, but there's no heaven where you're all going to sit at a big table with God. It's a pretty little story, but it's not real. And I really got that through the literature and the different areas. So when I started to realize that there was no heaven, that I was in heaven, that I was not here to sacrifice myself, I was not here to be a selfless idiot, bobblehead, and I was supposed to be a selfish, with pure love and honesty, value creator, Zahn, my whole mentality changed. And that's what I want you to do tonight, because we're going to talk about how you're going to carve out your destiny by getting rid of religion, by getting rid of the political process, getting all that out of your life, and living a healthy, conscious, honest, loving life. Isn't that going to be cool? Mystic free. And once you get all that religion crap and all that other stuff out of your life, you're going to be living mystic-free. How cool is that? How wonderful is that? And carving your own destiny, it talks about the ills of religion and other factors. And now, yes, you could be calling me a guy who's blaspheming you, and you're like, oh, I got to have my church. I got to be there. I got to get to confession. I got to do communion. Oh, my gosh. Okay. I got to hear the music. Let me hear the music. I got to be with a preacher. I got to do the services. Okay. Well, that's mystical. And you got to understand how mystical it is, and understand that if you're going to break out of mysticisms, the 114 advantages will help you do that. And tonight's program is going to be a great breakthrough for you from all of that illusion, and how we're going to really get you into a better mindset. Now, as a little quick break, I want to give you the recording for tonight's call. Please write this down.
I'm going to tell you all something. I don't advertise phone numbers and access codes, but I'm going to share something with you. Ladies and gentlemen, some of the stuff that they share on these calls, conference calls from the Neothink Society, is very controversial. Use your own judgment and you go by your own instincts. I'm not telling you to agree or disagree with it. You make your own judgments as to what you hear. Some of it you may question, and you have a right to question everything that you're hearing from this Friday night call. By the way, later on, down the road, I am going to be doing on my Wednesday morning program on social media. I have a program on Wednesday mornings, and it starts at 9:45. And I'm doing, and the general public doesn't know this yet, but they'll find out this Wednesday. We're going to do a Friday night Essence workshop on Wednesday morning. So they're in for a big treat. So I'm looking forward to doing this. I have the recording all ready for it and everything. So we're going to go back to the call now. This is Big B. Friday night, 5 p.m. call. Happened earlier. Okay, here we go. Enjoy.
However, many of us hold on to the living in the past, and these are crippling us because we're living and thinking in terms of concrete past experiences that we're not letting go. Now, why do we live in the past? And I was one of those who did it, and I'll tell you why. Unfortunately for me, my story is that I lost very dear people young. Okay? I had young deaths, and the people who never got past 30 or so. So to me, I never was able to handle those holes in my life. So I would be depressed. I would look back to the past, and I would feel comfortable being in that emotion of those times with people that were important to me at those ages. And I couldn't let go because I didn't want to let go, to be honest with you, because life currently wasn't too hot for me. And I wasn't really that impressed with it. And I was one of those who was stuck with why they were. Why was it them who these people who left, and I, for some reason, am still around. And because we live in a world that we were told the next life is going to be better, I believe that lie. To me, that is a lie. Oh, wait till you get to heaven, it's going to be so much better. Let me be very candid. That is a damn right lie. And I'm not going to play games with that. Because I held on to the past because I knew people had gone ahead of me, and I wanted to be with them in this heaven level. Was that crazy or what? And I dealt with priests and people who said, oh, God's will. Oh, Steve, God's will. They had to leave at a young age. God wanted them with them. Oh, my God, what a bunch of crap. And we have to realize that we have to live our own journey. Please, everybody, make a note of that. We have to live our own journey. The religious factor, the social factors give us this garbage that we have to be at these other levels or these other procedures. But the bottom line is, it's our journey. So tonight, as we talk, let's look at each one of us as individuals, self-leaders. Please do that. So forget about brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, religious crap, all that stuff. Let it go. Look at you. You are the Zon. You are the person. And it's your journey. And I'm including your spouses. I know you love your spouses, but this is your journey no matter what. This is your way of living. So forget the spouses, forget the kids, forget all the others. Look at you. And if your spouse is on the call, they should be looking at their journey, not you. When you finally let go of things that you can't change, such as the past. The past is an example of experience and information. And that's the only way it should be used. It's the religious factors. It's the stories that people give us that make us hold on to this garbage of the past. And I had to go through a tough time of my own to let that go. Okay, I'm finally letting go of the past, or have let go of the past. But once I was able to let go of the religion, because I realized the ills of what religion does to you to hold on to the past. And you have to make that breakthrough. You see, I'm not in religion anymore. I got rid of it, and I will fight tooth and nail to make sure we get rid of it, because I see how dangerous it is. And it doesn't let us grow. If we're going to be real neo-thinkers, religion has to be taken off the table, because it leaves us with guilt. It leaves us with self-deprivation. It doesn't make us feel good about ourselves, because religion keeps telling you, you can't make it, you got to do it, you got to wait till the next life, that's when your rewards are and all that. What a bunch of lies. That is so much lies. And we have to build on that. So we have to let go of the past and understand the past for what it is. People have died. People have moved on. People in our families have moved on. Their I-ness has been put in the universe. Wherever their I-ness goes is another thing. But it's the I-ness. They're not in any heaven, because we're in heaven today, if you want to look at that. There is no outside heaven. There's no outside hell. That's all BS. And when you look at that and understand it, you start to reference that the past is what it is, the past. And that you've had people who have been part of your journey. They were with you. Some have stayed still with you. Some are gone. And I've had to allow the ones who have been close to me, who have died, they're gone. I could still think of them in my heart, but I can't waste my life about it, because I have my journey to do. And I can't dwell on something that happened 40 years ago, because it's dead and buried. And all I do is relate to the foundation I have and move on. Now, why am I spending so much time on this? Because I really am nervous about the religion thing. And I've told people in the society, I'm going to work through heaven and hell to get this religion stuff out, because I realize how dangerous it is. And I realize if I was a neo-thinker, if I don't start talking about this and struggling it, you're going to hold on to illusions that are never going to let you be a real Zon, a real neo-thinker. And you've got to be a real neo-thinker. And part of the concept of holding on to the past, and I can't wait because I'm going to be with my sister or my children or all that, my next level, and they're all going to be meeting us together, and we're all going to sing Hallelujah. Guys, come on. That's not going to happen, because that's not a reality. And then you learn in neo-think that isn't reality. So we have to move forward and not stay stuck in the past. Those of us who live in the concrete past lose the ability to control our lives. Let me say that again. Those of us who live in the concrete past lose control of our lives. And what does neo-think teach us? We must be in full control of our lives. Full control. And therefore, you got to let go of the past. You got to let it happen. Let it be done. Use the past as an educational tool, as an experience, but let go of it. Okay? Stop dwelling about this next life that isn't there. You're in the next life. Your I-ness, because remember, let me be honest with you guys. When you die, your body's going to go and deteriorate, either in the ground or it's going to be burned up. You can't go back to your body. It ain't going to happen. It's gone. But your soul will move forward into the universe. Your soul will move out there. That's the key. And when you start looking at yourself as an I-ness, which is soul, after the body dies, you will let yourself have a better understanding of our connection with the universe, which will now give you more focus on what you need to do day in and day out. Okay? And that's a very important factor as a neo-thinker. In the neo-think knowledge of craving, you're designing your destiny and carving it out. Now, you may not all agree with it. I believe it. And my life has moved forward once I got rid of that anchor of religion off my life. So you have to look at that and understand that. So if you're going to achieve, so right now, let's just say, if you hold on to this past stuff, you lose control. However, if you start to let go of it, you will achieve long-range prosperity, happiness, and psychous pleasures. Psychous means mental, physical, and emotional connection together, behavior. And you will become more aware of your experiences, and you will let the past be what it is, the past, not an anchor around your neck. Can you do that? Can you let the past go? Can you let the people who went before you in this journey go, and you live your life? It's tough, isn't it? But it will work if you just let it go. Now, it's easier said than done, and I get that. But if you work your neo-think and read these advantages every day, and by the way, this was one of my biggest breakthroughs, was the advantages. I would read an advantage a day. There's 114 days, so it gives me quite a bit of time. Over 114 days, I read one advantage a day and study it. Then after 114 days, I read them again. And I get stronger, and I get more in tune with myself, and I get more happier with living life and building it. So are you ready to let go of the past? Are you ready to understand that your I-ness is going to go into the universe? Do you understand there is no heaven? Heaven is here. You understand that you're not going to be connecting with others, because that's an illusion. You will connect with an I-ness, which is out in the universe. But can you believe it, and will you allow yourself to believe it? And I think that's the key. Are you ready to let go of the illusion? Or are you willing, or do you want to hold on to it? And some people will tell me, I can't let go of that, even if it's an illusion. I have to see those people again. I've got to get to heaven, and we all got to sing Kumbaya. Well, that's your decision. But I will tell you, you're holding on to the past if you're still holding on to those visions. And you can never be fully in your wealth, health, prosperity, that secrets that you want to be. I'm giving you a secret. You got to let go. And are you willing to let go? Charlie, any comments on that before we move on? I think there's a lot of material there.
Oh, there's a ton of material there, because we all can relate to this, because we're either still stuck in the past, or we all have been there at one time or another. And it's a tough job to let it go. But there are ways of doing it. Obviously, reading this information, we are in the best place to learn how to get past that. But one of the ways that I figured it out, and I read it from an article a long time ago, if you look at your core values, basically who you are, all of our core values finished by the time we were 7, 8 years old. And we got those core values from our parents, our teachers, aunts, uncles, friends, outside authority, church, government, whatever. And through life, we never really thought about it again. Because if you walk up to anybody in the street and say, give me your top 10 values of who you are, and people are just looking at you and say, what are you talking about? So what you have to do is you have to, I would say, list every value that you think you have, and just list them all. And then look at it and say, is this who I really am now? And I'll guarantee you a lot of those core values won't be there now. But we always just took them because they were ingrained into us by the time we were 7 or 8. So we just kept them. They're ours. All right? That's part of why we get stuck in the past. We can't let go of it because we got all of our core values from outside authorities. None of those core values that we received when we were 7 years old came from us. They came from outside. You're having a hard time getting over God and religion? It came from there. You have a hard time of doing anything else? It came from back then. If you have a hard time with your confidence, you probably picked it up from your outside authorities as a child. Brothers or sisters or aunts or uncles or your parents or the church again or whatever. But everything that we learned as a child has stuck with us. But you have to redo your core values. You have to come up with them on your own and decide what ones you have today. That's going to give you a whole new outlook on life because now you're going to say, you know what? Now I know who I truly am. And that's a lot different from that child of the past. Now, again, child of the past here is big because we want to go to that child to bring back our imaginations and our free love and everything else that we've had. And that's good, but we don't want to go back to that child of the past who's stuck there with not the values that you have today. It's a little confusing, but don't be confused by it. Just look at the core values that you have now that you think are you, and then just say, do I still have all these values, or do I have some that's more than what I have here on this sheet of paper? And you start to figure out who you are, and when you think of your core values now, you won't go back to the child of the past that much. You won't go back to that time. You won't get stuck in the past. That part of your past is over, it's done. The past is good. All the good memories we've had, either as a child, a teenager, in your 20s, 30s, 50s, whatever. That's what you hold on to in the past. Everything else, all the times you've made mistakes, all the times you failed, if you learn from them, then you let them go. Because what good are they doing you? We have to start living now, today, and for tomorrow. We're not living for yesterday. It's over. It's done with. We can't go back and change it. So why are we holding on to it? We've got to start living now. Live for today. This is all we have. Is right now. All we have is being on this call right now. That's all we have. The beginning of this call is over. It's done. And the end's about a half hour away or so. So for the next 30 minutes, all we have is right now. And then when we all hang up at 9 o'clock, we have the next hour, hopefully. But we've got to let go of the things that are keeping us stuck back there. We don't want to get stuck in the AC world. We want to get stuck in the sea of you. If you're going to get stuck anywhere, let's get stuck there, not here. But look at your core values. I think that's a good start. It's not a hard thing to do. Just look and say, who am I? And just start writing down the words. And then ask yourself after all that, is this who I really am? Well, you know what? Maybe 5 of them are, but the other 5, I'm not so sure. So what other parts do you have now? And think, all right, yeah, I'm more this, I'm more that. But it's a good place to start, and I think it will help you to get over getting stuck in the past. It's just wasted time for us anymore. We want to start moving forward, and we can't. Don't look in the rearview mirror. Look at the windshield. That's it, Steve.
Okay, let's stay with this a minute, Charlie. Charlie brought up the child of the past, so let's clarify what the difference is of the past versus the child of the past. This is a very important statement that you might be confused about. Our child of the past is a part of us that's a Zon, right? We were born Zons. We were born to be curious, to look for information, to exhilaration for life, etc. That child of the past is different than being stuck in the past. Our child of the past is the value of us in a neo-think mentality. So that child is a child that's probably around 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. The past factor starts when we go into the mysticisms of the AC world and start getting through religion, through school, through families, doubts about who we are, questioning, guilt. That's the negatives of the past. However, our child of the past, so let's not make any confusion here, is a positive note for us. So you see, that child is our Zon. So, child of the past is a Zon. God-man. Mystic free. That is something you want to connect to. That is something you want to bring back. Because you see, everybody, that's your journey. Remember I talked about your journey? The child of your past is you. You have no problem connecting to that beautiful, conscious, mystic-free being. That's Zon. So there's a difference between sticking to the past than communicating to your child of the past. There's a difference. When I sit down and look at pictures of my child of the past, I'm looking at them as before I got into school, or I'm in the beginning of school, before I allowed the church to destroy me, before I allowed teachers to let me know that I was a loser, before people said you talk too much and you should just be put in the corner and shut up. That is a mystical past. Okay? Before I focused on people who died young and I felt that I still could not let go of them. That's the past. However, if I want strength, if I want motivation, if I want to feel excited, I'm going to my child of the past, which was connected to the universe as a Zon. That's strength. That's energy. That's motivation. That's not reprisal. That's not self-belief, less of self-belief of myself. So everybody, your child of the past is a good experience because that's you. It's your journey. Remember, this is all about your journey, not others. You're focusing on the past with other people. Let go of their journey. That's theirs. You be in your journey. You see, that's one of the things we have to understand as individuals. And I think that's what I didn't get as a young man. See, I connected and believed that I had to be with somebody because they were going to complete me. Remember that crap? Complete you? They were going to make me a better person. What a crazy... And that's what the AC told me. Oh, marry this woman. She'll complete you. I needed to complete myself. Not her. Let her complete herself, as she should have. She should have been complete. We're two broken souls coming together. And it's a mess. Okay? I got to tell you, I was fortunate I got out of a bad marriage. I don't know how many people stay in those bad marriages. But we were two broken people who came together. Oh, they make you so much better. You know, I should have run for the hills when I heard that stuff. Because I wasn't ready for a marriage. I wasn't ready for a partnership. I was still broken. And the AC world only made it worse instead of better. So, when you look at the past, trust me, there are things in my past I don't want to look at. And one of them was my marriage. Because it was not, except for my children, it was not a good journey. But the key is, I can go back to my child of the past. So, when you look at the past, don't put your child of the past there. Make that a separate entity apart from that, because that's your journey. The other factor is bring in other people's journeys, and that's what you want to let go of. Do you get that? This is very important to understand that. Never let go of your child of the past. That's your Zon. So when you put the name child of the past, put the word Zon next to it, because you always want to connect to your Zon and bring that Zon to help you build yourself. Okay, a lot of material here, a lot of information. Let's dig in a little bit deeper and see what else we have to say. When you finally let go of the past, except for your child of the past, you're going to be living in the present and a continual building of integrations and forward movement. So you're going to be putting in here, and living in the present, you're going to be building integrations. Put that down as part of your notes. I'm writing with you. I'm doing the same thing as you do, building our integrations. And that means taking from one dimension to multi-dimensions. And it's going to help us build and grow into the future. That's the key. Grow and build to the future. To our future. Not somebody else's, our future. So once we put the past in perspective, once we are able to look at how we are going to work, live, and integrate in the present, and then how we're going to build to the future. And here's how we're going to do that. As rational, being an important word, value creators. That's how we're going to build the present and take us into the future with confidence, leadership, and honesty. With confidence, leadership, and honesty. Now that is a major secret of the Neothink Society, the Neotech Society. Letting go of the future, walking our own walk, still connecting to our Zon, which is our child of the past, building our present through integrations and rationalization, and moving into a future through our value creation of honesty and self-worth and self-leadership. That's the Neothink way. That's the key. The days of sacrifice, the days of self-deprivation are gone, everybody. No more. You are in charge of your life. You are the one to make your life the better. Nobody can help you. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, is not real. There is no such thing. Jesus Christ, the man, the conscious man, is real. The connection to Jesus Christ as a man who was born as a man, not as a son of God, because that's an illusion, is the reality. And can you deal with that? Or are you going, is anybody in the room feigning right now that I said that? Because once you get to know what is real and who you should be connecting with, Jesus Christ you should connect with. The man, Jesus Christ. He was a conscious man. We're buddies, Jesus and I. We're good buddies. I love the guy. We're like bros. We're brothers. Because we get the idea of rationalization. But I don't believe in any Son of God garbage, because that's an illusion. And that's the problem why we have taken people and putting them on a pedestal of illusion and not allowing to connect to them as equals. You are an equal with Jesus Christ in that sense. You are building towards that equality. But if you still look at him as this mystical person, you're not going to get it. You're not going to understand it. However, if you're going to stay in the present, you want to connect to Jesus Christ as a neo-thinker, as a man. And that will help you build your present connections. These are all connections that you want. Dr. Wallace is a present connection. I'm sitting here when I do my programs like tonight. Dr. Wallace is sitting right next to me. His Highness is right here next to me on my desk. Because he's giving me the connection to build my life forward. He's giving me the knowledge and information, though his words are jumping out as if he's talking to me. See, I never thought of things like that before Neothink. I never got that before. But I get it now. And do you get that? Do you understand that? Because that's the reality. That's the reality. So Charlie, with present, going into future, being your own journey, connecting to your child of the past, any comments about all that? Because I just want to make sure we're tightening up that whole connection.
Yeah. Now, once we start to understand all this, once we start to have the integrations, once we start to live with pure love and pure honesty, once we find our essence, once we start moving forward, all these good things are happening. We want nothing to do with that bad past. It gets easier and easier to let it go when you realize that you're starting to move forward. You're starting to live for now and tomorrow. Now and tomorrow. Every day, that's how we have to think. We have to think about today and what am I going to do today to become better, and what's my plans for the future, and how I'm going to handle all that. I mean, that's if we don't let go of that past, it's going to hold us there. It's going to hold us with all the doubts and all the fears that we have. And it's never, it won't let us go. We have to cut that tie. We have to start separating from this AC world. And it's easier to do that when you start moving forward. And you start living the life that you always want. You start to learn more about who you are. And you're putting yourself first all the time. When that happens, you don't want that past anymore. It's easier to. That's the baggage that we have. And we have to get rid of this baggage, and we start feeling lighter. We start feeling better. We start feeling we have confidence now. I'm really looking forward to the future now. Because I'm going to get there. That's when you start to break away from that past. Otherwise, we'll hold on to it. And the more you hold on to it, the more you're stuck in that little comfort zone that you have, and you'll never get any better. Let it go. The only way that you can is taking steps forward, not standing still or going back. So every little step you take, it's a little easier to let it go.
Okay. Every little step you take, every bit of information. The main thing is do you get what we're talking about? Do you understand this? Because if you don't get this, you're going to have a hard time with it. And it's important that you take the knowledge of connecting to the past and disconnecting, working your journey versus trying to stay in somebody else's journey. You know, you're dwelling on people who have passed or gone away, but you're sticking yourself in their journey. That's not your journey. You have no right to be taking into their journey. Even your own child, if you lost a child, which is a terrible thing, remember that's their journey. You gave life to them, but for whatever reason, you have to let them have their journey. And these are tough things. Don't get me wrong. I get that. But unless we start breaking away and looking at things differently, we're never going to get unstuck. And that's the thing. So if we're going to build and develop our rational mind, Dr. Wallace says the following to us. And by the way, we're still only in advantage number 3, which is carving one's own destiny. That's all we've been the whole night. So what do we look at with a rational mind? It can only destroy the destructive effects of religion and the God concept if you're in a rational mentality. If you're in a rational mind, you can spring free from guilt and those freeloaders who are out to just destroy you. They're value destroyers. So Dr. Wallace is very adamant about the ills and destruction of religion. And he says that our rational minds can overcome the destructive effects of religion and the God concept. And that's pretty direct. And that's right there in advantage number 3. And I want you to look at that closely. Now, you're going to have to decide if you want to agree with that or not. I do agree with it because I've studied it. But you have to decide if you want to agree with that. So in order to get into a craving your future to the right area, you've got to let go of some things. And the religious factor and God concept have to be looked at. When we look at nature and the production of it, we have to connect into the universal factor. So when you're still believing in the God concept, you're not really connecting to the universe and the factors of the universe. And that keeps you're stuck. You haven't really opened up to the whole level. So you need to look at that and how that goes into play. So take what we're talking about tonight, understand that, and then I want to talk about why you're here. We're going to go to a side note tonight. I'm not going to do any more advantages. We're going to talk a little bit. I've given you a lot of info, a lot to think about. I know you're not all going to agree with it, but these are from the writings. I've done my research on it, and I happen to agree with it. But as a mentor, you have to understand, I can't put anything under the carpet. I have to tell it like it is. And these are in the writings. And unless you start making some breakthroughs, you will be in a very stuck position, and you'll never grow to unlimited health, prosperity, happiness, and romantic love. It won't happen. So you have to really start to look at your journey, look at building your own integrations, look at building your future as a mystic-free, conscious human being. And that's the other factor. Are you willing to become mystic-free? And everything we talked about tonight is about breaking free of mysticisms. You must do the following. I'm going to go into, I'm going to wrap this up with Advantage 4 in one part. As an individual, remember, you're a conscious individual. You must integrate to create your character and your own values. Now, that's a very important subject. Your character. Do you understand how many of us do not live our character? We live what our parents have told us to do. We've lived what society has told us to do. We've lived what religion has told us to do. We have not worked our own character. Now, I have. Over the last 7 to 8 years, I've been very open to who I am, and I'm very comfortable with who I am. Some people are still working on it, but are you the person you're supposed to be? Are you living the life you're supposed to live? And that's a question I can just ask you. I can't answer it for you. You answer it. And if you're expecting to move forward to a higher level of carving that destiny, you can't carve your destiny if you're not who you are. This is the other factor. You can't turn the other way. You got to look at who you are. And you can't fool yourself. You just can't fool yourself. You've got to make sure you are creating your life. Your life. And I think that's still something we as neo-thinkers are still not doing. We're still not in tune with who we are. We're still developing all these other things instead of developing who we are. And that's the first step as a neo-thinker, value creation through Friday Night Essences. And many of us are still sort of struggling with that. But not even only Friday Night Essences. It's, I have my own Friday Night Essences, but I also have other parts of who I am, the kind of man I am, the sexuality, the behavior as a person, all that. Those are all still apart and beyond from my Friday Night Essence. So you have other parts of you. And your job is to try to figure all that out and how to develop it. So when you go to the dogmas, which is actually the fourth advantage, you'll find out about, how do we break away from the dogmas, which are a lot of religious and other areas, and then break into our own character. And that's the key I want us to look at. Do we actually know who we are? And that's my question. Do you really know who you are? Do you really know? And do you accept who you are? Do you really accept who you are? Or are you a fraud? How's that question? Are you a fraud? Or are you a real human being? Or are you living life as a fraud? Somebody else. It's only for you to answer, not me. And as a neo-thinker, you got to live as a real human being. You've got to be in a physical, intellectual, and a psychological nature of a balance of it. And you have to be able to work through your personality, your characteristics, your desires, your tastes. And you've got to create your journey. Nobody else can do it, and you can't accept what others will tell you to do. This is where it gets tough. Neotech, it's not easy. It's for the hardcore person, being a neo-thinker. This is not just a piece of cake. You got to work at it. You got to believe in it. You got to develop it. And you got to change. We got to all change and take it from there. It's time to change and develop. Charlie, any comments at all before we wrap up?
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. We have to find out who we are. But you have to take just inventories of yourself. It's like, well, I always done things this way. But is that the way that you should do those things? And ask yourself, do I still like to, hey, everybody goes out drinking. I'm going to go out drinking with all my buddies or something. Do you really enjoy that? It's all these different things that you've been doing more out of habit than anything else, but do you really enjoy it? Or would you rather spend time trying to figure out who you are? Once you find your essence, that's the whole key. When you find that, then that really guides you in a lot of different ways of who you truly are. And I said this, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago on one of these calls. I'm enjoying learning about myself. I'm enjoying discovering who I am. It's a great ride. And, it's just, there's a lot of things that I never thought I could do that I'm doing. There's a lot of things that I didn't know that was in me that I have now. That's a main part of who I am. But it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work to break these decades of habits. But you can do it. And I tell you, it's worth the sweat equity that you have to put into it to get here. Because you're not doing yourself any good not finding out who you are. Because let's face it, what has this AC world done for you? What has church done for you? What has religions done for you? What has government done for you? If they're so great, then why did you come here? You came here for the answers, and they're all here. We just got to find them. No matter what problems you have, no matter what hang-ups you have, I don't care. The answer is here. The only place in the world that I know of that you can find all of the answers. And with that, Steve, I'll stop it because it is getting late.
Yeah, it's getting late. Okay, everybody, where are we talking about? We're in. Let's go back to the intro.